if we continue to look outside of ourselves for the troubles we're in, for the suffering we're enduring, for the difficulties and the issues we're having in life, if we keep looking for these culprits, the causes, the conditions outside of ourselves, then we'll never be self-reliant, self-sufficient. There's a beauty that comes when we become self-reliant. There's a wonderful thing that happens when we engage in a way that every day ends up being a new book of discoveries, a new adventure at every street, I was going to say street corner, but every corner of experience. Imagine that. You really don't need the outside world to experience happiness. All you need is to loosen up your grip a little bit. Stop latching on so tightly to things, to experiences, to what this person has said. So, you're not stuck on, he said this, she said this. He did this, she did this. Or, why are they doing this type of a thing? Why is the word like this versus the way I would like it to be? The way I like it, for it to manifest to me. And there's no such thing as normalcy. So we start to constantly compare our state to this non-existent norm, the normal. Well, I'm supposed to be this way. They're supposed to be this way. Where is that written? In your book of expectations. Meanwhile, we're relying on others. We keep fighting in our heads, in our hearts, creating agitation in the mind, while at the same time looking for a respite, a relief from that. And every once in a while, you have a different set of experiences presenting themselves to you, and suddenly you forget. That is a passive way of loosening your grip, because you have to grab something else instead. You latch on to something else as you let go of the previous thing, until something happens and now you have to grab hold of that again. You see, this is one way of understanding living a life where your attention is directed outwards, away from you. You're not realizing that your source of happiness is not outside, it is inside. Now, this path, the Dhamma, the teaching of Lord Buddha, is not a mystical path. It is a realist path, realist kind of path. Because it's immediate. There's no secrets about it. There's nothing secretive about the teachings of Lord Buddha. Nothing. Because every single person has a chance of experimenting and experiencing the effects of it, the truth of it, for oneself. And you don't have to be a veteran meditator for many, many years in order for you to start tasting these facts about the teachings that Buddhism offers. Right now, whatever the difficulties might be, maybe you're worried about something, maybe you're regretful of something you've said, done, maybe ages ago, but still it's there because you're still grabbing onto it. Lord Buddha called that suffering. The holding on to it, the grabbing onto it, the cause of suffering. And when you loosen up your grip, the ending of suffering. So it's very simple when you think of it. Now, the issue then becomes, how much negotiation would this thing require of me? This thing called unlatching, unhooking myself from this memory, from this negative self-talk, that I can never amount to much, for example. Or I can never do this on my own. Or I need this other person to be doing this and that in order for me to feel this good feeling. Do you see what I'm trying to say now? As to, we look for the source of our happiness and the ending of our suffering outside of ourselves. When Lord Buddha was saying, it's the opposite. Why would you want to give the keys to your own happiness to the world, to outside conditions? But because we do that again and again, Lord Buddha called that avidya, or ignorance, or delusion, or foolishness. I like to call it foolishness, because we know it. We know we're doing it, and then we continue to step into that pile of cow dung. Again, and again, and again. Because it's easy for us to point at the cow dung and say, why does this have to be there? To sully my shoes or something. Well, why did I step into it in the first place? That is all about self-reliance, because you are counting on yourself for your own happiness. It's freedom. That's why genuine practitioners seek seclusion sooner or later. At least at one part of the day, they need to feel secluded. You need this. We need this. All of us need this. To gather our sanity. And plus, there are labyrinths of discoveries to be made within the mind. But so long as our attention is directed outwards, forget about it. That's not going to happen. We're always mesmerized by whatever is outside, an inch away from you, not an inch within you. But this requires, of course, responsibility, taking charge. What you have in the world today, about 8 billion people who are not willing to take charge of their own happiness. Still looking for outside conditions. That outside condition can also be, well, my body is not agreeing with me, but there's I have some health issues or something like that. Yes, physical pain is undeniable in its importance. Yes, no one is, arguing that. But Lord Buddha also mentioned that there are two types of arrows that a human being is struck by, shot by. One is the one that's representative of the physical body and the pains that we have to endure. But the other one is optional, and that is the arrow of ignorance. Yes, we are going to go through suffering. I've been undergoing suffering since I was born. I mean, it's not a unique situation. Billions of us have been doing that in one way or the other. But I cannot recall a single day in my entire life where I had absolutely zero suffering, physical suffering. But that does not mean that also absolutely had to pour into the mind, pour into the way I view that suffering. Because there is a decision that the person has to make to say, okay, I understand the outside conditions, and most of it I have zero control over, including the pain in my elbow, in my knee, my head, my whatever. I'm taking as good of a care as I can. However, it seems that that's not enough. The medication isn't helping. The procedure I underwent is not helping. I have to experience the pain. Okay. Let me understand it. Let me breathe through it. Let me breathe through this difficult day, difficult boss, difficult job, whatever, difficult traffic, commute. This is not you sticking your head into the sand, ignoring all these factors. No, the Dhamma is not ignoring the realities of life, not at all. But how you live through those realities during the day, and do you relinquish the keys to your own happiness to those conditions or not? That is where the reality or the fact of the teachings lie. That's where it is to be found. There's no secret. So there's a choice, yes. Here you have a choice. Other things you don't have a choice in life. How am I going to relate to this? Is it the first arrow, which is unavoidable, or is this the second arrow? Because most of the time, the pain, the physical pain, might have already stopped since like 10 o'clock in the morning. But now it's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm still hurting because of how that person looked at me or said that to me. Or how could they have done that to me? That is the second arrow, because I'm not keeping tabs on what kind of thoughts I'm entertaining. So the doors, the gates of my sense perceptions are left unguarded, especially the mind. So I have to be on top of that. So while you are restraining yourself in the sense that you are keeping close eye on what thoughts are being entertained, what repetitiveness in thinking, in feeling even, what type of emotions are you entertaining during the day? All these things have a huge impact. Yes, it might have been, started by, the instigator might have been a physical pain at one point, but that has been dead and gone for hours. What am I doing to perpetuate it? That is the second arrow that Lord Buddha said we can relinquish. And that is what an arahant is, basically. Someone who has relinquished the second arrow. They still have the physical body. It's unavoidable, so long as you're alive. But it all comes down to being self-reliant. And that's why we have to constantly work on improving the understanding we have about ourselves and the relationship with the outside world. And then you see that it's not that important. It is the relationship that you have with yourself vis-a-vis how you have been lying to yourself about the outside world that's really having an impact on you. You can't change the world outside, basically. But you have absolutely 100% choice in how you can live your own life on the, dealing with the second arrow. Okay?